Contrast uncut, yeah, you know that's us. Where we only speak the real and the real rock with us. Where we motivate the people and politic on success. Oh no, we ain't DJ Khaled, but they swearing we the best. Contrast uncut, contrast uncut.
What's happening? It's Contrast Uncut. It's season 3. It's a special edition. It's October. You know, this month means a lot to me. It's a lot of stuff going on. We like to bring awareness, and this month especially, let's bring some cancer awareness. And also, in this special case, and something else near and dear to my heart, let's bring awareness to lupus and bridge the gap for early detection and just, rise above these different things that are out there that will, have such a bodily harm on your future, and just some of the things that everyone goes through that faces these diseases, and it's just not an easy thing. And I have a wonderful lady to my beautiful left, and she has been such an extraordinary person to overcome and battle, and she has a big purpose, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about it later on in this intro, but I want to make sure everyone knows how important she is from the very beginning. I want to give a big shout out to Uncle Snoop's Army and Bobby D Presents. It's your host, Zylo, aka DJ $1, like I won some money. Like I said, today we got an incredibly special guest. She's a survivor, a warrior. She's an author, writer, and expert to mental health, dedicating over 20 years of her life to the field as a licensed mental health counselor, as well as a life coach, motivational strategist, and mentor. She's the visionary and brilliant mind behind the WOW effect. The WOW is an acronym for winning over whining. She's definitely had her fair shares of battles in life, overcoming surviving twice lymphoma cancer, while being a lupus warrior, where this disease has her own immune system attacking her own tissues and organs. She's a true warrior, and I keep on saying that because it's the truth. You don't understand that we be battling over simple things daily, and imagine where you can't control what's going on inside of your body or on top of your skin. And she just understands the true value of smiling and be happy every chance you get. She's a huge promoter of strengthening your mental health and being as authentic to yourself as possible. And if you don't know who we got on the show by now, it's all good. We got all episode to chop it up with the girlfriend therapist, CORTINA PETERS, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that awesome introduction.
Absolutely. You shine the light on so much that it's just, all you can do is wait for that dark thought to go away so we can have all the brightness shine in on it.
Yes, definitely.
So, CORTINA, I got to let you know, time's the most finite thing we have on this earth. And I got to tell you from the very beginning how much I appreciate your time for you coming on here and, rocking with me, rocking with the viewers, and just being transparent with us and allowing us to grow with you.
That's what the girlfriend therapist is all about. It's all about transparency and being able to really connect yourself so that you can be more vulnerable and get the healing that you need, in addition to the education on a lot of issues that people don't really talk about.
Yes. And, speaking of time, and people get it always mixed up, I want to know, what is a normal 24 hours for you?
So I don't think I have a normal 24 hours. It really just depends on the day. My schedule is so absolutely crazy. It really depends on what patients I'm seeing that day, if I have any appearances or book signings or book tours or speaking engagements, trainings, workshops. So it really just depends on the day. The only day I really have to myself is Sundays. But outside of that, I am either meeting with a patient. But one thing I will say, I'm getting better at it. I don't like to start my day before 11 a.m. Why? Because I'm a late owl, and I'm up often very late at night. And so that gives me time to recharge, because when I'm with my patients, I want to make sure I'm 100% laser focused so that I can really be my best for them, so that they can see their best. So yeah, a regular day for me probably starts around 8:30, so that I can be ready to see my first patient by 11.
Now, when you say a regular day starting at 8:30, do you put any time to pretty much meditation?
So I do a lot of meditation in my car and at night. So like, I don't know what it is about like late night. That's when I kind of find the win in my sail. Like all of my creative juices are flowing at night. I can be meditating and a thought will pop into my mind. I'm like, oh, I gotta write that down. So I get very creative at night.
No, that's good. And I'm happy people aren't saying that you have a sleeping problem or, you know, you just can't sleep at night.
No, no. See, one of the things is for me with my lupus, it takes me a little while to get going in the morning. So even though I may wake up, I may just lay in the bed for an hour because sometimes when I'm getting up, it's like painful or it's kind of hard to walk sometimes. So that gives me a clear window, regardless of what's happening, as long as I'm not having a flare, to really get myself prepared.
See, and it's so amazing because once that 11 o'clock hits and you're fully going, it's right foot after the left, and you
That's
just
it.
overcome whatever it feels. It's just going to be a moment and pass through. That's
Yes.
amazing. I have a quote. Let me know how this quote relates to you, or if it
Okay.
doesn't. The idea is I just want you to talk about it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Smile and let everyone know that today you're a lot stronger than you were yesterday. Drake.
That resonates with me so much. And the reason why I say that, often I will post pictures of when I was burnt from radiation and when I was going through my cancer journey and when I was in the hospital and things like that. And I tell people, like, my smile is my badge of honor. That is like my shield because I remember times when I wasn't able to wear my smile, not because I didn't want to, but because it was extremely painful and what I was going through did not feel good. So every time I get the opportunity to smile, I am always smiling. Like I love to smile. And that is just like the window to the portal of how grateful and humbled I am that I have been given another opportunity to continue to see another day.
Whew. And see, you know, it's an old school saying that tomorrow's not promised.
All
And
right.
it's so important to recognize from day in and day out that you grow and recognize your strengths, that you made it through another day. And, you know, that's a reason to smile. It's a reason to smile every time you breathe. Whew. You gave such an incredible answer. You got me boggling on my thoughts right now.
We have to be grateful because like you said, we can't buy back time. No matter how much money we have, no matter how many letters we have behind our name, no matter how many accolades and how many followers and connections we have, time is something that no one can give to you. So be appreciative that you are in this moment, that you are in the present, and don't take it for granted.
See, as we're talking about this, a lot of people don't understand that when you're on a course and you're on a path, you let go, you let God, and you control what you can control and let go of everything else. And I'm reading in the background, it says, not all who wander are lost. And
Yes.
it's so important that when you're on your journey that you arrive. And sometimes you may take the long route, but you'll learn everything. You'll learn every step. You'll leave bread trails or paper trails
Mm-hmm.
so that you can get back. And, you know, it doesn't make you lost. It makes you found in a new environment and a new growth. And,
Yes.
you know, as I'm reading about it, I feel like all of that correlates into how I'm going to hit you about my next question. Speaking about your profession, did the game choose you or did you choose the game?
I think it was a cosmic collision of both. I feel like I get to wake up every day and live in my purpose and what I was destined to do. So I don't see myself doing anything else except for what I do. Now, I don't want people to misconstrue that by saying, oh, yes, I'm happy every day to get up and go to work. Not necessarily that, because there are some challenges and you're like, okay, well, I have to get through this or maybe this contract or what have you. But when you get to the bottom bare bones of what I do, which is I get to see lives transformed every day. I get to see the life come back in people's eyes who thought that their life was over. And when you are able to see an emotional transformation, which flows through and it becomes a physical transformation that people make, it is absolutely amazing. And that's what makes me and fills my heart and makes me continue to do what I do on an everyday basis.
You know, I love that because I've had a few conversations with people about purpose, and, you know, you have to know your purpose, but you got to have passion first, and passion will have you do something for free. It will
Yes.
have you help you train somebody you don't know, put it in, you know, a consultation that you would normally charge if you knew what you were doing 10 years ago, but instead you did it for free because it felt so good. It felt
Yeah.
so great to see the growth in somebody personally, and just praise the process and be like, you know, I had a small part of that, and I realized that small part is supposed to transform and keep on going into other different parts until I get a nice big wall that represents all these different lives that I've been able to touch and help grow while you're battling your own battles.
Mhm.
And that is a confirmation in my mind that, you know what, that is the exact purpose of what you're supposed to do, and you're living your purpose. But I
Yes.
want to know from your perspective, what was your first confirmation that mental health was something that you got to divulge your life into?
Probably even before I became a licensed clinician, I was a family consultant. And so I was extremely young, like had just graduated from college, and I would never tell anybody how old I was because I was super young and everybody was older than me. But I always knew that I was different because I had a lot of wisdom. I had experienced a lot of life, which caused me to be a little bit more mature than people my age. And so when even then, as a family consultant, I saw how excited I was to help people. Now, as a therapist, yes, I'm helping, but I'm not enabling or telling you what to do with your life and dictating to you what you get to do. But I do get to help you light the portals of your life that may have been dark before. So it's almost like I'm the holder of the flashlight. So
Mm.
I help to shine light on those areas that you may not even know the light bulb had blown out. So when I was younger, I knew that this was something I wanted to do. I wanted to do something dealing with people and them being able to win in every aspect of their life very young. I knew that was something I wanted to do. And then it just so happened I became a therapist.
You know, it's so important to understand and recognize, you know, for the viewers watching, if something's easy to you and you recognize it, and, you know, words are flowing, and you're getting this energy inside, that has a lot to do with the direction or a foreshadow of your passion and purpose. Because some
Yes.
things that are easy to me may not be easy for her. Some
Mm-hmm.
things that are easy for the next person watching may not be easy for nobody else. And that's why you have a specialty. That's why it's a gift. Everyone is
Right.
born with a gift. And, you know, with that gift, you have to have a lot of walking by faith and not by sight. You have to have manifestations. You have to have prayers. And then
Yes.
along with all of that, you have to have the hard work to back it up to make the dream a reality. What can you tell the listeners about your journey on manifestations?
You have to be able to see it. If you cannot see yourself in the place where you want to be, you will never be able to get there. So I am very big on visualizations. You have to see yourself, even if you're not there yet. See yourself walking in it, standing in it, being in your future so you can manifest that and do the things that you need to do to make sure that what you want is actually actualized and manifested in your life. You have to believe it. Everybody around you can believe it all they want to, but if you in your heart and to your core don't believe that this can happen for you, it never will. So I tell all of my patients, you have to believe it. I don't care if every sign is saying no. In your heart, if you believe it, the world and the universe and God will make provisions for your will and your desires and your passions to be actualized.
Facts, facts. I am a living, walking testimony. Personally, I quit my job working at a pizza place. I made them a whole bunch of money, raised their sales 60% over
Oh,
a
wow.
period. And, you know, it's all about service and talking to people and having that relationship. You made someone out feel like $1, even though the pizza was $30 and the chicken and wedges were $25. You're spending all this it's expensive, but in reflection, you're getting this service. You're getting a service you won't get nowhere else. And I recognize there was a gift in talking to somebody with respect and having genuine passion about what they're willing to, eat, what they're willing to watch, and what they're willing to keep on coming back for. And I recognized that was a gift. And I was like, I'm doing all these other things, but things weren't adding up. They weren't going to the right direction. It was always something else. It'd be a variable or something else you can't control that would cause everything to fall through. And then, it's amazing. I quit my job and I'm literally about to cry and I'm in front of my mother-in-law. I talk about this a lot, but it's so important that people understand the transparency of having God in your life and directing your path. Because I was literally crying and upset about to talk to my mother-in-law and father-in-law. They're in the front yard. When I just quit my job, I only told my wife, like, hey, I got into an argument with the owner. I was already into some stuff with some gang members. I kicked out the restaurant. And life was getting hectic, but I was still showing up to do the job. I protected all the people involved in the restaurant. And I was like, okay, I get into argument with the owner. I quit, walked out, called my wife first. And then I called the owner and quit, dropped the keys in the box. And, that was it. And I came home. And what I'm getting to is that my mother-in-law told me that's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yes.
And, not understanding that by her saying that was going to be a foreshadow to a deja vu in my mind that where life was going to start changing for me. And I didn't know it was going to be that day. And I started to do real estate, and real estate wasn't it because they wanted me to quit doing music. And I was like, I can't do that. I live in a conservative place. They want me to quit doing music. What? I can't do that.
Okay.
And I considered it. Honest to God, considered it. And then boom, life hits. God blesses me. To the BET Awards as a seat filler. I see one of my best friends from college there, and now I'm partying with him in the lower sections and going to after parties. And then it happened again and again. And then the gates opened up. I started to recognize, there was a void in the marketplace. There was something I had a gift for, and I had to reach it. And how come I'm talking to these people? How come this is going on? Why am I able to do this? And it all just led down the way for me to understand that I was winning in a moment instead of trying to be, upset and whine about life not happening the way I think it's supposed to happen. And I had a moment that where I won, and I've been on a winning streak. And, something I really love about your brand of the Wow Effect is that it's, winning over whining. You take away the excuse of why you can't do it and make it the reason to do it. And then I feel like that is the Wow Effect. And I wanted to make sure we spent some time on an incredible brand that you created and structured. And I wanted to make sure that, you have the platform and the floor for, what are some things that people don't know about the brand and the involvement in, society.
So one of the things that you said is that resonated with me is sometimes you just have to make a move, right? So it's in my book, but I don't really go deep into it. But the way that this book came about was I was in corporate America for years, right? So I was an administrator over an inpatient substance abuse facility. So I had relocated to Central Florida. I was making well into the six figures, and I was comfortable. So I was living my life. I knew there was more in me, but I was comfortable. And you got to be very careful about when you get comfortable. So the company that I was working for was being bought out by another company. A larger conglomerate was buying them out. And so they were keeping all of the admin. Well, we know with mergers, different things happen. And so they gave me my letter that, yes, we are bringing you aboard. Well, I remember they called me in and I was like, okay. So I'm sitting there and it was like, oh yes, we are going to rescind our offer. Oh, I said, I'm sorry, what? So now you go from making six figures and it's like, so are you telling me, oh yeah, this is effective today? Today? Like, yes, you can we have some boxes for your stuff and everything. We just don't think that you fit the brand. That's what they said, right? You don't fit the model, the leadership model. Okay. All right. Mind you, I was the only, but we're not going to get into that. So I left that day, didn't know what I was going to do, had no idea. I'm like, okay, what now? Out of that, It was like I heard God speak to me and said, I never want you to work for anybody else again. That was tough for me because, like I said, I was comfortable. I had a lifestyle that I enjoyed. And so for me to now really have to hustle and do the things that I know to do, I did that. And I always tell everybody, God had to push me because he knew that I wouldn't have never moved. I wouldn't have never left. So he had to take it from me in order for me to be able to birth the gift that was inside of me. So me losing that opportunity, that was just part of the labor pains. He was grooming me. He was growing, grooming me, and I was growing for greater, for all of the doors and the blessings that would soon happen. And this book, The Wow Effect, actually started off as living life boundlessly. I had started writing it about 12 years ago. Yeah, about 12 years ago, when I was going through after my divorce. I was at a place where I said, I'm free, I'm good. You know what? I feel like I'm in a different place. I want to write it. I started writing, and people were telling me, why are you writing it? Why don't you type it? I said, because I like writing. I want to write it. It was like, but that's double work. Why are you writing it? So I started typing it, right? I should have just went with my first mind. The jump drive that I was using became corrupt, and I lost everything. So me losing everything from boundless living, I lost my passion and my desire to write. So I stopped. It wasn't until after that opportunity left me when I was speaking to one of my mentees, and she was like, Miss Cortina, when you gonna write your book? My mom, my friends, everybody who knew that I was going to be writing a book, they would always say, when you going to write your book? And I just never felt it. The day she spoke to me and she said that, it was like God used her to reignite a passion and a desire that was in me. And here we go, the wow effect. And it's created and it's done. Had I written that book 12 years ago, it wouldn't have been as powerful as this one. Why? I had the verbiage, but the passion behind it wasn't there. The true healing that I went through over those 12 years can be felt in this book. It's all about timing. So sometimes we want things, we're not yet ready for them. So don't forfeit, the process. Don't prematurely give birth to your gift because it might not be fully developed. And so that is, what I want your listeners and your viewers to hear. If you have a dream and a desire, go with the process. Don't rush it, because everything happens in God's timing when it is supposed to happen.
Yes. I have a funny story. So the beginning of starting this show, it was crazy. I had a co-host, and then he had a girlfriend that had a child, and he stepped away. And so I had to figure it out. Like after the third interview, he just disappeared. And I was like, holy crap, how am I going to do this? And so that moment I had a big interview. I was like, I can't miss this interview. So I did it myself, and it went 2.5 hours. And I was like, oh, I can do this on my own. And I started to book stuff out of town and started to just do more, because now it's like there's no holding back. And I get an opportunity to interview a guy named Bobby D. And Bobby D is the agent and business partner of Snoop Dogg. And I get to interview him, and it went so well that he was like, I want to be a part of it. You're psychedelic, you're organic. What can I do to be a part of it? I didn't know what to say. I was like, you present the biggest concerts, present my show. And he got involved. And so I'm like, yeah, I would love to go to the concerts too, not realizing what I was signing myself up for. And this is February 12th that I interview Bobby D. I do 2 other interviews that day. I interview Asia and Slim 400, and it was amazing. The next day I got the Baker Boys. And I'm like, okay, I got Friday. It's going to be Valentine's Day. I'm going to spend it with my wife at Rusty's, this pizza place I managed for so long.
Oh, okay, yeah.
$20,000 on Valentine's Day. We sell thousands of heart-shaped pizzas on that day. So I haven't had this day off in 7-8 years. And Here comes the day of, I get the call saying, hey, you're supposed to be in Palm Springs because Keith Sweat, 112 and Next have a show. And I didn't know I could bring anybody. All I know is that I get the opportunity to interview 112, Next, and Keith Sweat.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I tell my wife is supportive. She sends me on my way. And so I'm headed out there. I'm calling her while I'm going there. And I get there like 10 minutes before check-in. And I'm supposed to be there. They get 2 passes in the damn envelope. I could have brought my wife. Upset. And then I go through the motions. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Bobby's not even there, just the publicist. And so she meets with me and Bobby gives her instructions and I get to interview RL from Next. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't know who he was. I played Next at my wedding. I've seen them live, but I didn't know who was who. I just know the music. And so I got this big brother in front of me and he's has all this energy. And I don't know, like, I didn't know it was going to be, I got there, go backstage, and I'm going to be interviewing a minute later. Just didn't know it was going to be like that. No excuse. I bombed the interview, B100. I said the wrong quote about, civil actions instead of talking about love on Love Day. And he called me out on it. It killed the whole vibe. And then now the publicist, and she represents us today, foreshadow, but she was like, I'm not fucking with you. You just ruined this. You ruined RL and you made him feel uncomfortable. So now I'm backstage like, how the hell am I going to get the rest of these interviews and figure it out? I just started talking to the bodyguard. He was cool, but he was mean looking. I told him, hey, I'm out your way. We're good. I'm out your way. You want me to move? I'll move them with you. Like whatever you want. And just being cool about it. Yeah. And so that bought my time to be backstage instead of them trying to move me out of there because I dropped the ball. I ended up building a relationship with 112's manager. And now I talk my way into interviewing 112. The funniest part about this is that I do all of this and everything I did that night, it was corrupted. None of the files got to save on my phone. It was my first time ever having an issue like that. And I have Grammy winners. I have people that I played their music at my wedding. I have danced and done so much and I literally had nothing to show for it. And I'm trying to advertise it and figure it out. And nothing to show for it. And it was a fork in the road. Do I quit? What do I do? And then season 2 comes along. I find out that Snoop Dogg loves what I do, and he got behind the show. And I was like, whoa. And we get Mellow Man Ace, and then it's just been history. But it was those moments right there, as you talking about it, it made me really reflect on the inside of how much, if you drop the ball, how much of that reflection of how much you're in it. And, as a creator, it can kill you. Kill it, kill the drive, gone. Like, look, they could tell this person, they know this person, and boom, you could have all these horrible thoughts and anxiety can kick in. And then once anxiety kicks in, you get that eaten up feeling that, you can't shake. And God has a way. He has a way of saying, hey, I got my hand on you. You were supposed to fall. And you're supposed to get back up. You're supposed to think about this. So when you go back into this, you won't have a moment when you're not prepared. You don't know who RL is again, so that you won't ever have this moment again. And now I know that he wrote Bobby Brown songs. He wrote all these different things. And it's just like, oh, I can't believe I did that. And so when you said that you pretty much had me open up a scar that, it's onion layered, and it didn't make me cry because I was able to really just talk. But boy.
Yeah. It's amazing how when we begin to reflect on the mistakes that we made, how much growth we can find in dark places. I like to use this analogy. When you plant a seed, a seed is planted in dirt, right? What do we make? What's dirt made of when you're planting something? Manure. Now, is this a censored show?
Oh, you could cuss.
Okay, so it's shit, right? So it's dirt, it's manure, and everything. That's what we plant seeds in. So the seed is in a dark place. Some of you listening may feel like you're in a dark place. But the seed needs to be in that dark place in order to strengthen itself and take root and be able to blossom and bloom into the flower or the tree it was created to be. Never take for granted the dark place. Never take for granted the lonely place. You're able to hear God's voice and your own voice in those quiet times when you are alone. So when you are alone, ask yourself, what can I learn in this period? What is happening to me? What lesson am I to be getting from this experience that's going to help me in my future. Because if the seed is not planted in nutrient-rich soil, it may never germinate. It may never grow. And when the seed doesn't grow, it stays stuck in its same seed state.
We call that potential.
Yeah. And so understanding where you are on your journey, it's all about the journey. It's not a race. You're not racing against time. You're not racing anybody. You're not racing your cousin or your brother or, you know, your parents' past. It's about you. Everybody doesn't get to the same destination at the same time. It's an appointed time when you are supposed to arrive. If you arrive too soon, the bus may not have gotten there yet. If you arrive too late, the bus may be gone. But when you arrive right on time, everything falls in line.
It's so amazing that you're speaking about an important part of this game, this world, this life that we live. It's the journey. And everyone always thinks that when you go to a goal, you just write down the arrival location and you think you're going to get there. And you say, okay, I'm taking off. It's a destination and you're taking off. And you know, the reality is that you have to go through the journey. And so many people quit. So many people give up on the journey and they figure that I'm just going to turn around or make a fork in the road and figure something else out. And, you know, that's something that is also a part of the process. And something that I think what Nipsey said in the marathon continuing is that you're going to go through every emotion. But the one emotion that he did not go through is quitting. And that quitting is where you're going to have your most deepest thoughts, the darkest feelings. And as you said, full circle, that's where the biggest growth occurs.
Yes.
Because when you can reflect in the dark, imagine what you could see in the light.
That's it. That's it. But sometimes our past prevents us from wanting to see what's in the light because we're afraid.
Come on. You were talking about forgiveness.
Fear keeps us stuck and paralyzed to where we don't want to move. We don't want to go forward because we're okay with what's comfortable. And so it's so funny you brought up Nipsey Hussle because the last chapter of my book is called The Victory Lap.
Come on.
And so with the victory lap, you know, after everything you've gone through, after all of the work that you put into it, that shows your dedication. That's how committed and dedicated you were to making sure you were successful on your journey. And so I don't know how this happened, but yeah, I put a quote in from Kobe Bryant and one from Nipsey, and they're no longer with us. And so I just believe that everything happens for a reason. Hard work plus patience. You got to do the work, and you have to be patient with the process.
Yes. So on Saturday, it was my birthday, October 3rd, right?
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But I was in LA and I got called to do a job. And I get to the job wasn't what it's supposed to be. And I mean, it was going on, but it wasn't to what I had envisioned. So I was like, I'm not going to put this stress and anxiety of trying to do something in an incorporated environment that was not designed. And so I'm like, you know, I'm just going to let this go. Did I miss out on something? Yeah, but my spirit told me not to be there. I was listening to my spirit. And I found myself at the Hollywood Hills Forest Lawn, and I didn't know where Nipsey's gravesite was. I just knew I needed to drive and I needed to get there, and I was going to look it up once I got there. I coincidentally drove all the way up to the top of the hill and parked in the same area that's parallel to where you walk down the hallways to where his gravesite is. Me not knowing that, I'm like, it may be down here, because we saw a quick video and we're trying to piece up like what you see in the background of this video, and like, you know, we're investigating, you know, I'm gonna find it. And you know, for those that don't know, Nipsey's gravesite doesn't have a tombstone. There's not anything for you to just find. You know, there's a brand new tree that was put behind there prior to him being, you know, buried. But other than that, that's the only landmark, and seeing that big old thing in the background. And I've learned that there's a code number, a numeric number around there for a site. And so we were like, man, we're trying to find this. Little did we know we were already there. And so we did a big old circle to come back up top the stairs. And my wife was upset because we had to walk down the hill to go back up the stairs to be where we were already at. And, you know, during that process, we found this gravesite and it was amazing. And I see, and I'm just reflecting. I smoke, so I'm smoking and enjoying that moment. And we leave. Like, I felt like I did enough, like in my spirit of like, I touched it. We leave and we go to Hollywood because we're in the Hollywood Hills in Forest Lawn. We go down. My wife, we're walking down Hollywood Boulevard. Out of nowhere, we go to the bathroom, come downstairs. YG's down on the street with blocking off the whole intersection of Hollywood Boulevard and Highland, promoting his album. And like you can see his manager driving his Rolls Royce. You can see 20, 30 cars. And it was just that moment. It was like, you know what? I feel like, and I have a Kobe Bryant shirt on, and it says the greatest experience is memories. And as I'm going through this day, I realized, man, this is how it's supposed to go. I got to see YG. I was like 10, 15 feet away from him. We don't get to go to concerts. I don't get to see this brother like normally. So it was just that moment of like, wow, I got to step closer. This is one of Nipsey's partners and folks. And I've had my guy Mars does my outro for the show. Like Nipsey's close and near and dear to my heart, the same way how Bob Marley and Tupac and you know, they have that same weight on my heart. Because they're influences. When we're in the streets and we don't have, I didn't grow up with a father, we look for areas to relate and grow with. And they filled the void and the gap. And just my whole birthday was revolved around, you know, that energy. And then I've been experiencing this energy every day since. And granted, it has been less than a week, but I was like, boom, I go to one thing. And then I get a call to go to San Diego to interview the women's super welterweight champion of the world. And she's amazing, and her energy was out of this world. I wouldn't have expected that being a boxer, and how soft to the core she was, but how tough she was to the exterior, and so much knowledge and wisdom, and just I feel like so much was opening. But it took that, you know what, I got to just say, you know, I can't just dive into everything I sign up for. I need to start, you know, listening to my core and continue to grow with it because it got me here. And as I'm divulging into all of me, I forget that I need to keep to this script and
But you know what? I believe in allowing it to flow, because it's so funny that you said that, because I think in everything we need to make sure we have balance. If we're so rigid where we are stuck to the script and we can't be flexible, how is it genuine and authentic?
Come on.
Sometimes things are placed on our heart because the creator says someone listening needs to hear that. Someone needs to hear your story because it's going to resonate and connect with them. But if we're too busy making sure we go line by line, script by script, we may miss the opportunity to bless someone.
Yes. And never, ever block your blessings. Somebody wants to give you something that is a blessing.
Take it. Yes.
Take it, because if not, it's going to block your own blessing by saying no. I'm sorry. I had a, you know, disclaimer.
No, you're fine. And it's so funny. When we got on, I saw the Bob Marley, and Bob Marley is looking at me right now. He's over here. The Bob Marley poster right here.
See? And so much, there's so many values with Bob Marley, and that's why I really grow with him. And don't get me wrong, I like my fair share of marijuana. It helps, you know, I smoke the coke and I got ADHD and anxiety, and I go on PTSD. The streets is wild, but I don't use it as an excuse. I just take my outlet of a coping mechanism. But in reflection of, you know, you get to have these moments of seeing who these people are and seeing what they did, what they stood for. And those are the things that resonate you to help you grow into your own blueprint and testimony. Yes. And as much as we don't want to go to the script, I'm going to go to the script.
Yes, that's fine.
Of why I do the show and why it works so much, because there's stuff on here that I write from the spirit. Like, I don't put stuff on here that's going to be the same thing. There may be a few things that are from this episode to the next, but there's so much in between that's not the same that I can't just tell somebody, hey, I'm going to do it like this, and then you know what's coming. It's like, that's not organic. That's not fun. But the spirit allows me to have the pen to come out. And I'm going to talk about it. Lupus is something that's big in my household. My aunt, Mary, she was the only aunt that I got to meet on my mother's side. My grandfather passed away before I was born, my grandmother, and so forth. But she had lupus, and she passed away from complications of lupus. And I got to see her battle and be resilient and be happy. And, you know, on her last few days, as I walk up to her, she said I look like, she called me my dad. My dad died when I was 4, and I'm like 25, and she's calling me by my dad's name. And it was just like those moments of like, dang, I didn't know I looked like my dad. And so she played a significant role in me understanding and recognizing who I am. And my wife's best friend, I want to give a big shout out. We love you, Mika. She is currently battling lupus, and she's going through such a horrible time right now, day in, day out, of dealing with COVID, dealing with it's a treatment. Why am I forgetting it? Dialysis.
Oh, for her kidneys. Okay.
Yes. And lupus has affected her kidneys, and so she has to have dialysis. She just recently had surgery, and we would see her maybe 2-3 times a year. It's my wife's best friend since they were little kids, and she's an amazing just personality. Like, you could see her glowing every time you see her, and the amount of information and knowledge she pours out. It's like, I just wish just a little bit more of you were able to come out more, but that's not the way how the world works. And it leads me to talk to you with COVID, and it has no visitors, and it's been really rough for us. What have been some of the biggest challenges you have faced battling lupus day in, day out, especially during COVID?
So I have flares that come and go. So with me being a cancer survivor, I have to be very mindful of that. In 2018, I was in the hospital for about 20 days. I lost the ability to speak. I lost the ability to like really swallow. So I had like the suction tube in my mouth. I had a feeding tube because I couldn't eat or anything like that. And lupus is a really unpredictable, nasty disease, and it can affect any organ in your body. So with mine, like before I was, you know, like diagnosed, I realized that I couldn't move my fingers and my hands sometimes. I realized that I was unable to walk, and it would just deteriorate just like that. Like I walked into a store, but by the time I got home, I had to be carried out the car. Like it was quick. And I was like, what is happening to me? Oh my goodness, what is going on? And so learning about it and just having to be patient with myself. COVID hasn't really impacted me much because although I go to my office, I'm not like out on the scenes or anything like that. My daughter is homeschooled because I was like, you cannot go out and get anything and bring me back home anything. So she's homeschooled right now and doing virtual school. But there were some tour dates for my book tour that I was supposed to attend that I was unable to attend out of me being more cautious for my health and well-being. And so when I had cancer, I expected for my hair to fall out. I expected to lose my hair, which I did. When I got lupus, I never thought that your hair could fall out and you could have bald spots in the middle of your head and all of these other things, and ulcers in your nose and in your mouth, and it hurts and burns to eat, and you spend days in the bed and it's just painful, and your elbows and your ankles and your joints and your muscles, everything is just so painful that was new to me. I mean, I've had it since 2013. Well, I've been diagnosed since 2013. But just learning how to cope and deal with it. And I have some breathing complications. Like there were times where I couldn't walk through the mall. Like I could not walk the entire length of the mall. I remember I was in the airport once, and I was with my daughter, and I was extremely scared because I felt like I couldn't breathe. Like I felt like I wasn't getting enough air in, and it was extremely scary because it was just me and my daughter. So I ended up going on my trip, and I was like, if I don't get better, I'm just gonna have to call somebody to come pick me up from the airport. So it's very unpredictable. You don't know when you're going to have a flare. You may get some like little warning signs, like some aches here and there, and then you have the full-on flare, but they come and they go like the wind whenever it wants to. So the only thing you can do is just limit your stress. Don't take things too seriously. Your diet, making sure that you're getting your proper rest, not necessarily being exposed to the sunlight, direct sunlight as much because of photosensitivity, and just making sure that you take the medications the way that they are supposed to be taken.
Mhm. You know, you have seen the face of death, not once, not twice, but you've seen it
Yes,
multiple times.
yes.
And you know what? I like when I hear you speak and I can hear some of the things, I can feel the
Mm-hmm.
energy. And if you like, hey, I'm going back to a moment where I seen some stuff that I had a choice and I didn't keep on swimming. I didn't stay in the water. I got out. I made sure that
Mm-hmm.
I didn't keep on dreaming. I
Yeah.
took back to reality. And you know, that is an incredible experience within itself, because that is you're destined to be here. You're
Yes.
destined for your story to be out. And that is somewhat of a roller coaster of a life to have. I'm up at my high, I'm doing this, I'm living my dream, and then boom, the worst news you can possibly get, something that
Yes.
can kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And you handled it so well. And I just want you to talk about some of the highs and lows you're going throughout this process, because you definitely have some amazing highs and you got some lows that in the
Mm-hmm.
face of the low created an even greater high.
My lows help me to appreciate every day I get to open my eyes.
Yes.
There are times where we feel like, I don't know if I'm going to be here tomorrow, or I can speak for myself. I don't know what's going to happen to me. A quick story: when I first was diagnosed, I didn't have children. I was engaged. I was engaged to be married. And the doctors, before my first chemotherapy, they said, we think it'd be a good idea if you want to freeze your eggs, before you start the process and everything, because a lot of times people have complications getting pregnant. I was like, well, because at that time in my life, in my career, I never wanted children. And so I said, well, you can scramble them, fry them, boil them. I don't care. I don't want children, so I don't need my eggs. So I'm fine. I don't need to harvest them. Well, I was sitting at my first chemotherapy, and I'm an only child from my mom and dad. So I don't have any siblings. And so I was sitting there and I was thinking, what if I die? My mom and dad will have nothing. It's funny how we make plans for our life and then life happens. And I changed my mind and my mindset about wanting children. I have a daughter, she'll be 14. And I said, I cannot imagine my life without her. There were times when I thought that I couldn't go on, but looking at her face, knowing that she was my miracle baby, that made me say, what, I have a purpose. Like, this is why this was, in that moment, part of the journey to help me keep going. And I always say, I don't necessarily ask God, why me? I say, why not me? Because he knows that I'm strong enough to handle it, so that I can share my story with someone and be able to encourage them to keep going, no matter what it is. It may not be a terminal illness. It may not be something health related. It might be emotionally related. But your ability to hear my heart, because that's what speaks, to hear my spirit and to hear my heart, and it resonate with you, where you say to yourself, you know what, if she can do it, I can too.
Yes.
So in my low place, it gave me a different outlook and perception on the direction for my journey. And I had a blood clot in my jugular. 3 weeks after I gave birth, I realized I couldn't lift my daughter. I was breastfeeding at this time, and my at the time husband was like, oh, you're being a drama queen, you're being dramatic. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I can't lift my daughter. So my doctor told me to go. They did a intravenous ultrasound of my veins, and they realized, they didn't tell me then, but I realized when my doctor called me, I had a blood clot in my jugular. 3 weeks after I gave birth, I went into the hospital for 3 days, and I was on Hefferan 24 like drip for blood clots. And then once I was released, I had to give myself Lovenox injections in the stomach for 9 months. Had I not listened to my body, I wouldn't be here. Mind you, that was in 2007. In 2013, my best cousin, who I considered my sister, she died of a blood clot. My uncle just was released 2 weeks ago. He had a blood clot. So I had a blood clotting disorder. And after all that was done, when I went back to the hospital, they told me, they said, you know, your daughter is really a miracle baby, because when I was giving birth to her, they lost her heartbeat. So I had to have an emergency C-section. And the doctors went out and told my mom that they thought that they were going to have to come ask her which one to save. And so when I went for my checkup at the doctor, they said, it may be impossible for you to ever get pregnant. And if you are ever to get pregnant, you might not be able to carry a baby to term. Since then, I've had 2 miscarriages. So I really feel like my daughter is my miracle baby. She is everything to me. And to imagine that there was once a point in my life where I never wanted children, but she is one of the biggest blessings to me today.
I want to give you your flowers for being a dedicated mother. As you are opening up to me, you know, something that my wife and I experienced is that she had fibroids in her uterus, and it was on her lining. And, you know, we tried for having kids for a while and it didn't work. And so we had a blessing of a doctor. It took a real God-sent doctor to recognize what we had to do. And they tried to do all these other things, and nothing was working. It was making the fibroids grow. And my wife would never, you know, she grows up, you can ask everyone, she never wanted to have kids. She met me, like, she felt like, you know, there's a part where we can really have some incredible children. And so she jumped on board. And so, you know, cat's out the bag. When she gets mad at me, she always throws it in my face. Like, oh, I should have made better choices. I should not. And, you know, that's all good, because that's a part of life and marriage. But in, you know, during that moment, my wife went down and had surgery to get the fibroids removed. We were both, those 3 of them. After 4 hours of surgery and the doctor coming out, we found out she had 17. And they removed 17 and left 3. 2 of them are still on her uterus line, so that, you know, it's still a strong possibility we will not have children. And Dr. Chung, big shout outs to Dr. Chung, she was like, hey, after this surgery, if it goes well, you'll know if you're able to have children. You'll have a year. If it goes past a year, then you don't conceive, then you don't have the ability. You're gonna have to have a hysterectomy. So during that moment, we were like, okay, we're going to try. And I'm not going to go into details about none of that, but it happened. And we got to have our amazing son, Tremere, and he's a huge blessing. He was just in a commercial with Alicia Keys for the NFL about lifting voice. And then, you know, my wife was like, hey, I'm going to shut down shop, because, you know, fibroids is nothing to play with. Yeah. They cause so much different harm and pain from my wife. And it causes different emotions. Like it's a battle coaster. Like, I give all credit to your daughter for dealing with those emotions, because as you're going through it, and you just sometimes you can't control your mouth. You can't control some of the things that are going to happen, no matter how wise you are, because you know, you get scared. And in those reflections, we were able to also have a daughter. So we have a 6-year-old son and a 4-year-old daughter. And they are miracle children.
Oh, blessings.
They are true miracles. And when you I was like, you know what? I've never told anybody. And, you know, today was the day.
See, the thing is, that's what happens when you talk to the girlfriend therapist. It's almost like it's easy to have a conversation. See, that's why I find that with my patients, and I'm sure that there are a lot of amazing therapists out there. But my approach is very different. I want my patients to view me as their girlfriend who just so happens to be a therapist. And I don't call my therapy sessions. I call them couch conversations, because what we're doing is having a conversation about life. And how can I help you? And how can I reflect my clinical truth back to you so that you can use it as a tool to improve your life?
Yes, yes. See, that's amazing because a lot of people don't understand that your life is a testimony to get people further. That's a gift. It's a gift.
Yes.
You know, if you just don't use anything with that gift, it's sad to a degree, but in reflection, you know, you're going to do what you feel calling towards. And sometimes the food you eat can block that calling. Sometimes the environment around you can block that calling. Sometimes you can block your own calling.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
so important to embrace what you feel. And based upon you embracing what you feel, I know you've had an incredible amount of moments in your life. And so this next question is probably going to fuck you up because I want to know your top 3 dopest moments that you've had so far on this earth that where, you know, it sticks out more than others.
My top 3 dopest moments. Well, one would have to be when I gave birth to my daughter. That was like a dope moment.
Come on.
A dope moment. Like,
you said C-section. Oh my God. You were
yeah.
awake and
Well,
never.
at first I was giving birth, but my placenta had calcified, and so they lost a heartbeat on her. So I had to have an emergency C-section. So yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. It was scary and crazy. So that was one of my dopest moments when I found out I was cancer free.
Yes. Yes.
That was a dope moment. That was a dope moment. And another dope moment. Probably when I saw myself on the front of my book. That was a dope moment.
And look at that smile.
Yes.
That was not.
That was a dope moment.
Come on.
Because you can see your purpose looking back at you.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes. I have a segment. I'm gonna put a pause on all the conversation about, you know, reality and overcoming. I got segments and I gotta apply them because those guys have segments over there, but I'm like, I'm not gonna do it like them, man. And my first segment is my awareness segment. And I like to ask every guest, when was the last time they were pulled over? Because knowledge is power, but when you use that knowledge, it's a superpower. And when you're able to, give a testimony of how you were able to maneuver, it gives courage and light to the possibility of others being able to go through those times.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, when was the last time you're pulled over and advice you can give in the situation?
Oh, okay. So yeah, they might not want to do what I did, but I remember I was driving. This was when I still had my corporate job. I was driving to work and a police got behind me. So now I'm in Lake County. Not too many people look like me there, but so I was there and I immediately put my hands out the window. I was so scared. Like when I tell you the collective trauma that Black people and minorities face as a result of what they've experienced, probably not directly, but indirectly, I felt traumatized in that moment. Everything inside of me said, put all your hands out the window. So I'm like this. So the police officer who comes up, he can visibly see
you're distraught.
He was like, it's okay. Now I got on the suit. I'm ready for work. You would think he would think, okay, well, it's like 8:00 in the morning. I think she's going to work. I was so shaken. Like you could see me shaking. And I don't think it was so much of I was scared of being pulled over. I think it's what we've seen and what we've become accustomed to where you can do nothing. And this can be your story, or you can become a hashtag. I think that is what traumatized me and went through my mind. I think he was so heartfelt that he was like, it's okay. You know what? I'm not even going to give you a ticket. Now, that's not everybody's story, but that was mine. And in that moment, it made me realize there's so much damage that is going on as a result of the transgenerational and collective trauma that we are experiencing. And there's a lot of healing in our community that needs to take place.
Yes.
Those aha moments help me be able to be a more effective therapist in the work that I do.
Yes, no, it's so important because, like I said, knowledge is power, but when you use that knowledge, it becomes a superpower. By you being able to be okay with putting down your guard and showing him, hey, I'm scared. I don't want to have no problems with you because I already
No
know what
problem.
you guys are capable of. I'm not saying you're a bad cop. I'm just saying I know what you're capable of.
Right.
Go ahead and give in and fold so that you can either make your decision and give me a ticket because I'm not a threat, and move on. And
Correct.
having that energy and presenting it that way of like they're superior, yes, it does knock on your pride, but in reflection, it's not about the ticket. It's about going home, going through something safely,
Right.
and making your way out. There's so many times that the police would do some shady stuff. For the longest time, they didn't have body cams.
Right.
And today, they still not turning them on when they want to. Like,
or the tape mysteriously disappears.
Come on. That hurts my soul.
Yeah.
We still have to beg for justice for Breonna Taylor.
Yes, say her name. Yes.
Yes, like that hurts my soul. It doesn't make any point to why we yes, America, Constitution has all this stuff, but how come the American Constitution doesn't help the Americans? And then how the hell did this race battle become a patriot versus race?
Yes.
That shit retarded as fuck.
Yes. It's almost like it's either one or the other. We have no shades of gray. It's either you're for Black Lives Matter or you're for the police. I never knew it was a competition. I never knew that it was a race. I never knew that I had to pick one. But who made it that way? It definitely wasn't us.
No. But we can go back to the test of time. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but think about it. We wouldn't have Crips and Blood gangs to be notorious and ruthless that we would if they stayed the way they were designed and organized to do.
Help the community.
Come on. It's the same implications of Black Panthers, it just was spreading.
Yeah.
That hurts my soul, the stuff that we reflect and see. And it's accepted. We as a culture or a society, it's not even a culture, it's a society that divulges and gets excited about horrible things that happen in life. And
but you have to look at it like this. Anything the government deems as a threat,
come on.
And I'm not even talking about like a threat, like a terrorist threat. The Black Panthers didn't start off the way that they wanted to portray them to be. So if I see this Black empowerment movement rising up, we have to villainize them because we don't know the power that they possess. So let's try to put a cap on that power so that we can remain in control. It's the narrative that they're feeding us. It's the foolishness that they are propagating that they want us to be able to digest. Well, guess what? There's too many woke individuals and we're not trying to eat what you're trying to feed us.
Come on, speak on it.
So I think it's very important to make sure that when you are educating, we're not just talking about what's in the books, because a lot of stuff was written by people who are not for us. So what they see in the book is not going to be what's going to be edifying to my soul. So we need to be able to learn our own history so that we can educate our children for ourselves and not depend on the system to do it.
Yes. It's Contrast Uncut. It's season 3. It's a very special awareness episode. And I want to give a big shout out to Uncle Snoop's Army and Bobby D Presents. I also want to give love to Tavia for making this happen, because, I wouldn't be able to do incredibly dope shit like interview Cortina PETERS and talk about the wow effect and just drop gems and pursuing history for everyone else to make of their own and create their own legacy. And I appreciate you coming on the show and just being transparent and open and, being somewhat of a counselor to me during this interview. Thank you.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate your time and you presenting this platform for me to be a voice to your listeners and to your watchers. So thank you so much. Hello, it's Cortina Peters, aka the Girlfriend Therapist, and you are tuned into Contrast Uncut.
Look how it all begun. Bum skibbity bum. Yeah, grew up on that Nas, on that L, on that pun. Old soul when I was young. Crisscross, make them jump. Battle rapping for respect, my nigga. This ain't what you want. Can I kick it when I'm rhyming? Be a legend through Ebonics. Was a sticker boy. Felt like sticky fingers played at Onyx. Can I live track 8? Feel like Jigga 96. Without a reasonable doubt, the album turned me into this. Shit, we always had dreams of being money.
Man, I know you guys can't smell this right now, and I ain't talking about none of that other stuff. I'm talking about some of that good stuff, that smell good stuff. I think it's breakfast. What time is it? It's breakfast time. Make sure you tune in to Contrast Uncut no matter what you're doing. Whether you're eating breakfast, you're smelling good food like I'm smelling, or if you're smelling other stuff, we're good to watch too. Make sure you tune in. Thank you.